Hey, we returned with Caroline Jones, a P2 at Drake University, who was recently named to the Drake University CPHS Students of Distinction list for her leadership within CPHS and work in researching epinephrine autoinjectors that has led to multiple publications and presentations. Carolyn is continuing to research on epinephrine autoinjectors. She's president-elect of Drake's chapter of the Student College of Clinical Pharmacy, co-lead ambassador for the Drake CPHS ambassadors, and a teaching assistant within CPHS. In the future, she hopes to complete a residency in hospital pharmacy and work in a large academic medical center in an area maybe like critical care. So welcome to the Pharmacy Residency Podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So I've said CPHS 8 different times. It's the College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences, for those of you that aren't familiar with Drake. But I wanted to welcome you back. You were here last year. You did some teaching with me, kind of checking off that box of the residency application. But tell me a little bit about what's been going on in the last year.
Yeah, so it has been a full year, which is hard to believe. Since then, I've kind of continued on with some of the things I've been involved with. Our research project, I've been able to stay involved with. Even we're still doing that now, which is great. We were able to publish a couple of times with that project, which was kind of in the works when we spoke last time, but hadn't come fully to fruition. I've also become involved, like you said in your intro there, with a couple organizations on our campus, which is really great.
Well, tell me, let's maybe dive in a little bit deeper into three of them. First of all, let's talk a little bit about your research. Just remind everybody how you got involved with research, I think, as a sophomore at Drake. And now this is this is crazy to say. As a P2, you're in your third year of working with research or research lab. Tell me a little bit about how you first got involved, and then maybe the progression each year and your increasing responsibilities, and then obviously certainly the pinnacle where you were at ACCP presenting that poster.
Sure. So I got involved fall semester of my sophomore year. Drake every Monday sends out the CPHS student announcements, which kind of has opportunities to get involved or things that are important for us to know. And saw a posting for a research assistant position that said you'll be working with high performance liquid chromatography and studying epinephrine autoinjectors, which I had been looking to be involved in research after we had a professor come speak to us in class about it, and it just popped up at the perfect time. So I applied for that position as a sophomore, which I wasn't really sure if I would get it or not, being so young, but I did get accepted for that position. So when I started, I had no clue what high performance liquid chromatography was.
Okay, fair enough.
I had to Google what a CV was in order to apply for the position. So I really have come a far way from then. But my responsibilities mostly have stayed around the same since then, and I've gained a lot of knowledge. So, of course, I'm much more comfortable now than I was then. So, I work a lot in the lab doing a lot of the hands-on bench research. So, I handled the epinephrine autoinjectors. We had to develop a method in order to test them before we even touched them and tested them at all. So I did a lot of the work with that, working with Dr. Mangesha, who is a pharmaceutical sciences professor at Drake, as well as Dr. Lynn Castle, who is a clinical sciences professor. And so in addition to doing that laboratory work, I also help out with writing grant proposals. Helped write our manuscript for publication. And then also if we do poster presentations, which I've done a couple, I also help write those posters and present those. So that led us to ACCP, or the American Colleges of Clinical Pharmacy. They had a national meeting in the fall of my P1 year, so fall of 2018. And we decided to submit an abstract from our research in order to present at that meeting, which was accepted. So I was able to travel to Seattle in that October to present our poster at a session there. And also I was able to present it a second time in what's called Practice and Research Networks through the ACCP, and specifically the Critical Care Practice and Research Network. I won a student award, which helped me travel there. So I presented it a second time at their meeting.
Cool. And I guess what people want to know is day to day, how did your responsibilities change from what you did as a sophomore to a P1 to now a P2? Although normally people would travel this road, P2, P3, maybe even P4. But what did you do differently in the lab, or what do you actually do on a day-to-day basis maybe now?
About now, I'd say the difference between sophomore year is I have a lot more independence in the lab. To start, it was a lot of training, a lot of working together so that I could get used to the instruments in the laboratory. Our HPLC it's a very expensive machine, and so I've become a lot more independent. So now when I'm in the lab, I'm running the samples by myself. I'm creating the mobile phase, which is what runs through the machine. With chemicals, I'm creating that myself. I'm able to do the calculations myself, and especially that's helpful after I've had the classes that teach us how to do those calculations. Before then, Dr.
Okay.
Mangesha had to kind of teach me on the spot, so that was helpful when I was in those classes. But now I'm a lot more independent.
Okay. Well, this also makes it let's transition to the CPHS ambassador. Obviously, when somebody's taking you around a college and talking about their own experience, yours is an amazing one. Tell me a little bit about how the ambassador program works and then your role within it.
Well, thank you. So the CPHS ambassadors, that's a group on campus of students that are pharmacy, occupational therapy, and then athletic training, and also health sciences students. And our role within the college is to promote what Drake CPHS is. So we're able to speak to prospective students, whether it's giving them a tour while they're on campus or meeting with them, all the way to going to events such as STEM events for kids at DMAC, where we get to teach them a little bit about what pharmacy is or what they can do with science, especially at Drake. And so my role, I began to be involved with that last year as the mentorship co-chair. So my job then was to work with pre-pharmacy students and aid them in their journey to getting to pharmacy school, as that can be kind of daunting. So for example, this year, our mentorship co-chairs had a session to help them figure out how to register for classes and study for finals, since that can be daunting as a first-year student or even a second-year student. And now my position is as co-lead ambassador. There's two lead ambassadors. We organize everything that the ambassadors do for the college. We come up with for events.
Okay, well, tell me a little bit about, I guess, if so, it's not people come to Drake. You're actually doing outreach.
Yes, so we do a lot of outreach efforts through the community as well. And
Okay.
then when people do come to Drake, we speak with them also.
Okay. Well, I'm familiar with APHA ASP having a president. Drake Ryder is the president of the local chapter, and then Kelly Jo Welter is the president nationally. But I am
Yes.
not familiar with ACCP or what opportunities a student would have in a college. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
I can. So ACCP, or American Colleges of Clinical Pharmacy, I first began to be involved with that at the national level when I had to join in order to travel to their national conference. But starting my P1 year this semester that I went to their conference, I joined the Drake chapter of ACCP. And so the college's chapters of that organization are called SCCP, or Student College of Clinical Pharmacy.
Okay.
So Drake has a chapter with students in it that are interested in going into clinical pharmacy, whether it's in the form of working in a hospital or ambulatory care or fellowship. It's kind of a broad interest group, which is very great. And so I was a member of that for a year, and now I'm currently president-elect of that organization at Drake. And so we do a lot of events related to clinical pharmacists coming in to speak about their roles. In addition to ACCP has competitions for students in the student colleges of clinical pharmacy, such as the Clinical Research Challenge, and then also a couple of other competitions where if you make it far enough, you can go compete at the national level.
Okay, well, tell me a little bit about your award. I had to get it out of Drake Ryder. He was a very humble guy. You're a very humble girl. But tell me a little bit about the award that you did win.
I can. So, through the practice and research networks, there's a lot of them in ACCP, which are they're sort of an interest group. So, based on different portions of pharmacy, such as there's a women's health practice and research network, there's an emergency medicine, and I'm involved in the critical care PRN. And so I won an award through them. We submitted our abstract to them also. And so students who are involved in poster presentations can win an award. They have two of them. So I was able to win one based on our abstract and also our background as a research team and my own background. And so they gave me an award to help with the cost to travel to the ACCP meeting. And then I presented at their meeting also.
Cool, cool. All right, well, tell me a little bit about your teaching. So you're doing research, bench work, you're helping, kind of doing some outreach, but what teaching are you doing at CPHS?
So teaching, I was able to get that teaching assistant opportunity through you last year,
Okay,
which
yeah.
taught me a lot, teaching general chemistry. And so this upcoming semester, I'll also be a teaching assistant for the pathophysiology course that teaches P1 students. So I'll be involved with that. And mainly my role will be with discussion sections, creating a homework assignment for them to discuss and think about, as well as grading some things and meeting with students to help them out with the course material.
Okay, so I'm very familiar with the residency rubrics, and you pretty much have a 15 out of 15 in terms of catching the leadership, the research, the clinical, and all of those things. What are you actually looking forward to? Because I remember talking to one person who was like, I've done bench lab research for so long, I'm so excited to actually see it in patients. So what are you looking forward to?
I'm definitely looking forward to, well, for our project, it's nice that we are able to see some of that clinical application of our benchwork research. That's what kind of makes it such a unique project. But I would love to in the future be working directly with patients, especially in the hospital setting, doing research projects in directly in that clinical setting. So I'm definitely looking forward to applying for residencies, being able to be in that direct patient care, and hopefully specializing in a PGY2 residency to find an area of interest and be able to work on those research projects where you can see exactly what's happening.
I guess what I would want to know is what advice you have for, and I say younger students, but you kind of went for it as a sophomore when you didn't know what a CV was. You didn't necessarily know if you would be accepted, and things worked out. But what advice would you have for someone who maybe is rejecting themselves from, well, that's too advanced for me, or things like that?
I'd say my advice is kind of like how you just described it. If you don't apply for something, then you're the one that's stopping you from getting it, in my opinion. My advice is really to just go for whatever you're interested in. I did not expect to get that research assistant position, but currently at where I'm at in my academic career, I can't really imagine what would have happened if I didn't get that position, especially since I've learned so much through it and had so many opportunities to do interesting and unique things with that position. So my advice really is to, if you see something that you're interested in, or maybe just want to dip your toes into, just go for it. You can never be, you can be too young for something maybe, but everyone can learn about how to do something. And there's definitely mentors and professors that are willing to teach you. So if you don't go for it, you know for sure you won't get it. But if you apply for it, there is a chance.
Well, I've asked you a ton of questions. Is there anything that I haven't covered that maybe you would like to tell other people, or shout outs, whatever it is? Anything else that you'd like to talk about?
Really, all I've got to say is Drake is a great school and has presented a lot of great opportunities. And just really for anyone who is maybe younger or listening, who's interested in research or anything involved in the sciences or pharmacy, just to go for it. And you never really know what's going to happen with when you apply for something. So to always do what you would like to do.
Yeah, I gave my wife a little bit of trouble about, going 20 minutes to school, but she basically said that, well, if Harvard were in your backyard, why wouldn't you just go to the Harvard of Pharmacy? So that's what Drake tends to be. I think it's number 2 in the country with residency matching, so a great place
Yes,
to be. So, well, thank you
it
so much for
is.
being on the Pharmacy Residency podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Hey, and if you're interested in learning more about the residency interview process, go to residencyhelp.com or amazon.com or audible.com and pick out 100 strong residency interview questions, answers, and rationales.